Oh, come on. You know I was only putting you on about Frank Burns.
Of course. But you have done some pretty bizarre things.
Gee, I can't imagine why. I'm 12,000 miles away from home sewing together soldiers who aren't old enough to shave, while a bunch of people I don't know keep dropping bombs on the building where I work, which has a big red cross painted on the roof. Maybe I should just hire a band and have the whole thing catered.
Easy, Captain. We'll be leaving in the morning. That's an order.
Hey, welcome back to Draining the Swamp. I'm Zach.
I'm Max.
At some point, I'm gonna need to get, like, a theme for this podcast that isn't a cut-out scene from, like, the second episode with all the sound effects in it.
But it's so funky.
While I'm testing out all of, like, this soundboard stuff, I've started to get really used to it, though. Now I don't want to change it. Oh, how was your Passover?
Well, I couldn't eat bread for a week, so that part sucked. But then,
What are the other parts of it?
No, that's kind of the main thing. Usually I'd want to go to Seder, get together with some folks from my synagogue because I don't come from a practicing family. But I haven't wanted to do that for the past couple years for some reason.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, mood just hasn't struck me. So, yeah, mostly just not eating bread or bread products for a week.
I'm just glad that I have a Passover story this year.
Oh, is that so?
It's my first one. I went to get my girlfriend a churro, and it turns out the place didn't have any churros that day, and I felt so bad at the thought of leaving without buying anything and only walking in to say, "Do you have churros?" that I bought 2 beef tacos. Never ate them. They're still in the bag over there.
Is that so?
Here's what me and Maxie's relationship is like, is
you'll buy food and then not eat it for a day and a half, and I'll be like, oh shit, you got 2 beef tacos?
Yeah, and I'd say, yeah, if you want a day and a half old beef tacos, and then I look on in horror.
When I was a kid one time, older than I should have been, I was like 10 when I did this, I once came across a playground where somebody had spilled a bunch of Sour Patch watermelons on the, recycled rubber mat thing, and I was like, it's probably more sanitary than wood chips. And it is free candy.
I can't think of anything worse than one of those gym mats.
2 of those gym mats.
Was it worth it?
Oh yeah, dude, Sour Patch watermelons are great. That was the day I learned, hey, watermelon candy is good, even if I don't like real watermelon. Fancy that.
Oh, yeah, let me just tell you, if the audio keeps sounding different in these episodes, it's because we keep trying different things. Right now, we have probably the most untenable one, which is that I'm in a comfortable chair and Maxie's in an ottoman where she can't lean down. Or lean back, I should say.
No, it's fine. I'll just develop scoliosis over the course of 11 seasons.
It's just... Oh, I feel like I need to get a stool in here just for, like, solidarity.
Great, we can both suffer. That's what MASH is all about.
You're kind of not wrong. Anyway, so yeah, we watched a couple episodes of MASH, and you were saying that there seems to be a theme developing.
Yeah, the first episode we watch is always like, okay, yeah, this is pretty good, a little weird energy in places, but this is a funny ep, and then it just goes full tilt into some completely unhinged shit.
And then the second episode, I have to put a content warning in the description of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's just, get into it. So, Season 1, Episode 6, Yankee Doodle Doctor. Let's see, in this episode... no one knows what a documentary is. We have our 3rd general in 6 episodes. I don't know where they keep coming from.
Probably from America.
And Ugly John's influence is starting to be felt.
I forget if it made the final cut of last episode where we discussed Ugly John, the Australian, and how he does have the same name as his actor, John.
I keep forgetting if we have mentioned that or not. Wow, what the hell was I gonna say, man? That's how it is sometimes.
So true.
Anyway, so This episode is, first off, this is probably my favorite episode that we've seen so far.
Really?
I really liked it. Anyway, so it opens with this general in a Jeep. Do you know the origins of the word Jeep?
It was general purpose GP, right?
Yeah, but there's also...
Oh, right, there's also like a
the
Popeye
character.
The little Wish-Granton ocelot thing.
And that became, like that's like the urban legend, right? Is, like, whether or not they named the Jeep after the character or if it was a backronym afterwards. Like, oh, GP. Anyway, so this general comes up in a Jeep and starts giving, like, this very 50s style narration that you would see over, like, an educational video that you would be shown in school even in the 2000s, because they just still showed that shit. And it zooms out, they're filming some sort of documentary on MASH units stationed in Korea. And the general says, I got this friend Henry at the 4077th. If you want good doctors and a good documentary, go shoot there. And so that's the setup. And then we cut to Hawk and Trap having their homo moment number 8.
Is this the one where they're dancing, or is that next episode?
No, this is the one where they're dancing.
Okay.
This is just how it was in the army, Took where you can get.
I thought that was the Navy.
All the same shit.
Well, don't let them hear you say that.
Oh, listen, I grew up, like I said, my dad was in the Air Force and my stepdad was in the Navy, so... Don't get me started. So this comically invasive documentary crew comes in, right? And they're like... I know it's a comedy show, but, like, I was actually getting pissed off at, like, these dumbass cameramen looking at, like, injured people coming in from the helicopter and being like, hey, can you smile? What the fuck are you doing?
I mean, they're making a propaganda film is part of it. Like,
well, yes, and that's that's not a hidden fact of the episode.
Sort of the thrust of things once the documentary starts filming is Frank really wants to be the main viewpoint character, I guess, but nobody gives a shit about him, not even the director, so he's just like, now Hawkeye, he told me like 3 jokes and one of them was okay. What if we made him the main guy? And Hawkeye's
that's also what Alan Alda's audition was like for the role.
And Hawkeye just thinks this is all bullshit, because in fairness, it is.
Mm-hmm. But he gets roped into it anyway, because Trap tells him that, well, if you say no, then he's just going to give it to Frank. Which also I don't even think is true. You can find someone else in here that'll do it. Anyway.
Yeah, give it to Klinger.
So, like,
just make sure you get his good side.
And then we cut again to them, like, doing their documentary in the surgery room and just, like, getting in the way in such a way that I'm like, I'm getting anxiety.
There is a good kind of slapstick bit, goes on maybe a little long, where Radar and Henry are giving a presentation with, like, slides, and I guess the glare is reflecting off Radar's glasses, so the director keeps being like, okay, put your head down, but keep it up, focus on the camera, but put it down, we don't want the glare, again and again. That scene just kind of peters out. You'd think there would be, like, a big finish to that, but...
No, they just, busting Radar's balls, I guess. It's starting to really feel like there's not enough characters in this show. Have you noticed that?
Elaborate on that. Do you think like it's just too thin on the ground, or they're like reusing characters too much?
When they need to have a scene, they will populate it with characters in a very haphazard way, just with the characters we have available.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't seem like enough. I don't know. Like,
you know what? I do think that comes into play next episode.
Yeah, next episode there's a specific part that kind of made me make a note of it. But, like, I don't know. I just think of, like, later seasons of the show in which you can make, it'll be easy to write an A plot of this episode where Klinger wants to be in the documentary and he's being all like rambunctious about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't actually see any of these other characters giving a shit. Oh, I forget what this note was that says, starting to think it was actual gin on set.
No, I remember you saying that, but I don't remember what it was about. You know, people are weird on this show.
They were weird, but also, like, the way they were given their line, maybe they were just acting drunk well, but yeah, like, most of the episode is just Hawkeye trying to avoid being associated with some good old war propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Trapper, and Radar eventually are like, well, let's just sabotage the film. Radar distracts the director while the other two just, like, kind of tear the film out of the canister and fuck with it, I guess?
I mean, that's all you needed to do.
Yeah, I guess. It feels very, feels like a very blunt method. Anyway, the important thing is that while Radar is distracting the director, there is an exchange that goes something like, where was I? And Radar says, you just married your high school teacher.
Yes.
And the director says, oh yeah, I wonder if she's still alive.
You know, just a little glimpse.
Really paints a picture.
Sometimes the deepest characters, you only get a glimpse of them, you know?
That's so true.
Man, I would have loved that guy to be on Twitter now. We would get a good day out of him. Oh my god, that reminds me of my favorite match game clip, which, honestly, I'm going to splice in right now. I'm going to put in the audio right now. So this is when I'm gonna...
I was born here in Southern California, and when I remarried, I created kind of a problem because now my son is my stepson. He's married to his stepsister, and my daughter... Oh, you're thinking of that. He's my real son, and he's married to his stepsister now.
You're gonna have to leave now, Marge.
And that's exactly the face that Gene Rayburn makes into the camera. Where the hell were we?
We were just after they ruined the film. The guy's pissed off. He's leaving. He's like, you ruined my film. And Hawkeye's like, I didn't think my acting was that bad, because he still cannot turn it off.
And I was about to say, yeah, I said in the first episode, I think, would you want to work with Hawkeye? And I think the answer is increasingly no.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the long and short of it is the director bails. He's planning to reshoot at another MASH unit. Henry is distraught for whatever reason.
This is the episode that I was starting to like Henry a bit. Just because, like, I think how ineffectual of a leader he is kind of charming. Just like there's a scene where he's trying to quiet down a crowd and he's like clearly not working. He's up at the front, he's waving his arms, he's trying to get someone's attention, and then Radar just stands up and says, quiet, and that does it.
Mm-hmm. So the plan that Hawkeye and Trap come up with to fix their plan is they convince Henry to let them re-record the documentary themselves, because I guess the camera crew is staying, even though the director's leaving?
The director fucked off because he was like, you ruined my film, whatever, I'm out. And yeah, they go to Henry and he's like, we still have the camera crew here, right? And he's like, yeah. What?
So the actual film they produce, they shoot it as an homage to the Marx Brothers, and like this feels like it should be a way later bit, just because it feels weird for them to be going this early to the well of like, you know, Alan Alda's performance as Hawkeye is kind of reminiscent of Groucho Marx when you think about it.
It didn't take us that long to pick up on that.
I mean, no, but I feel like you want to let it marinate a bit before you go into self-parody.
Imagine if we were, 5 seasons in, and they finally did it. The Groucho Marx bit. Then it would seem like there was a big build-up, when honestly, I don't know. It was a good enough bit. I really liked... Did did the original Marx Brothers sketches have Harpo with the bicycle horn like that?
I feel like he had a bicycle horn, but he definitely did not, like, honk it after every line the way that Trapper John is doing.
I was actually kind of impressed with the live Foley on that. There were some good timed honks.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think bicycle horns went from the her to like the ding ding? And do you think it was like 5 minutes after a guy heard the first one?
I never really considered that.
Bicycles?
I never considered bicycle horns as actually being a thing that you would mount on a bicycle for practical purposes. You know what I mean?
Well, what if you need to, what's a car horn for?
Yeah, but with the car horn, I think the idea is that, like, people can't hear you as easily. If you're on a bike, you can just like,
yell,
"Hey, I'm coming."
And I'm getting a pair of speakers, mounting them on my bicycle, and I'm playing that audio as my horn. I have a whole soundboard set up on the front. I'm turning left. So yeah, like what ends up happening with Hawkeye, the Hawkeye cut, as we fans call it, it's being played to, the general and stuff like that, and everyone's loving it, but the general and like the Henry is like also uncomfortable because the general doesn't seem to like it.
And then Hawkeye flips his switch to Maudlin.
Yes, exactly. And then he gives his whole, like, has anyone considered war is bad?
People die here.
People die here. But also it's, like, for a point, because he's like, hey, you can't make a movie. You can't make this war documentary in a way that, like, valorizes why we're here.
Right.
Like, you might be able to valorize what we're doing, but this was aired during the Vietnam War, right?
Yes, it was very much a veiled commentary.
Yes, like this would have been a very topical episode at the time. And so yeah, Hawkeye's like eventual gambit is that to make the first part of the film so foolish that the general would never want to take it back, and to only like have the second part. So Hawkeye got what he wanted that way. And I honestly am really starting to like the common element of Hawkeye playing 5D chess on higher ups and exploiting that the higher ups in the army are like so, I can't think of any other word than army brained.
Mm-hmm.
Military brained, you could say. Giving you two choices. You can either get the goofball Hawkeye that will make you look like a fool, or you can get the more serious one that is spitting truth, but maybe not the truths that you want, that you can spin that the way that the military propaganda normally can. And just like subverting their ability to do that, I don't know. I like it. It's aspirational, let's say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. There's only two other things I wanted to mention about the episode. One is, as you said, Ugly John's influence with everybody doing a shoey.
Oh god, yeah. We forgot about the shoey.
For those who don't know, a shoey is when you pour booze into a shoe and then you drink it out of the shoe.
The shoe you are wearing at the time.
Okay, and now in fairness, I think they're just pouring it into whoever's shoes in this case. It's not necessarily their own shoes.
Not a true shoey. Uncle John, Uncle John? Ugly John better not have been there to see that.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that this episode ends with Trapper getting iced on a threesome.
Right, I forgot about that part too.
He really wants to fuck Hawkeye and also this girl that I guess Hawkeye is getting together with at the end for some reason.
This particular nurse has shown up a couple times. Is
this Nurse Dish?
No, Nurse Dish was like a blonde bombshell type. This one's like a brunette. And like I don't actually know who that is. You know who did not show up in this episode is what was his real name? Oliver?
Oh, yes. Oliver Hart.
So yeah, that's the last time we'll ever say his name. Remember all the good moments we had with him, all his great lines, like, I'm going back to sleep.
I hope he got paid well for his 15 minutes of shooting.
I was about to say, since it's like the first episode, you think they might have thrown a little more money at like the pilot and stuff. But given how popular this show got, you know these actors were like getting bigger paychecks to stay on the show later. So,
Absolutely.
So yeah, maybe he did miss out a bit. Season 1, Episode 7. Bananas, Crackers, and Nuts.
Really just not trying with the title.
In this episode, Hawkeye eats a sandwich.
He does get a sandwich.
Trapper almost develops a personality. And an early bar is set for the most uncomfortable scene of the show.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
So the premise is basically there have been an extremely busy several days at the 4077. Hawkeye's sandwich, it's during surgery and he needs to eat, so the nurse feeds him one, and it's like a little bit horny, maybe?
Well, like
Maybe I'm just projecting.
No. Listen, if you think something in this show was maybe a little horny, it's probably because it was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, I was gonna say this last week, but like, whenever they need like to open a scene or an episode on like they're really tired, they've been working a long time, the sessions just keep getting longer. In the first episode, I think they were like, damn, we pulled a 12-hour day. And then like a few episodes later, it's like, 14 hours. And then as far as like, it seemed like they were working for like a week straight.
I want the last episode of this show to be like, oh, we've been working for 2 years and 11 months without a break.
Oh, we've been working for 11 seasons.
And the only breaks have been for wacky antics. There's no booze at the swamp. So
Yeah, so like while they were doing the surgery, like I guess it's part of Hawk and Trap's like domestic life, yeah. That whoever's got the time will refill the gin still. And no one did that this time because everyone was so busy. And we have our first domestic spat between Hawkeye and Trap about the gin.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they getting these olives anyway?
Huh. Never considered that.
Radar hooks them up. So yeah, I guess like it's set up early in this episode that Hawkeye's just gonna get some like alcohol withdrawal, but I don't actually think that goes anywhere for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, no, he's just pissed about it.
He's just testy, I guess. And he's like, you know what? I'm pissed off. I want to go to Tokyo because I'm so pissed off. And he goes to Henry and says, we want to go to Tokyo because we're pissed off.
And Henry's like, sorry, I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
Yeah.
By the way, Frank's in charge.
So yeah, I said last episode I was starting to like Henry. Fuck Henry, man. Fucking asshole boss. Takes a vacation, leaves you in the lurch.
So Hawkeye...
Like to be clear,
the
the scene is like they ask Henry for the weekend passes, and then Henry's like, "Sorry, boys, I have weekend passes. I'm gonna get my golf clubs and go." And so now that they gotta convince Frank for the weekend passes because apparently he's the second one. He's the second highest ranked, even though we had a whole fucking episode about how Hawkeye is chief surgeon.
He's chief surgeon, but he's not chief administrator, I guess.
Make Radar do it. He's the only one capable of doing it.
That would be a good idea, but also it would invalidate the premise of half these episodes.
It would introduce no conflict. I understand.
So Hawkeye decides to take a page out of Klinger's playbook, and he's just like, well, what if I just pretend I'm going insane?
In front of Frank, so he'll be concerned with me. Which is, it's really weird the way they like introduce the scene, because like Trapper is talking to Frank and Houlihan as if they care, when Trap tells him like, hey, I'm worried about Hawkeye.
Yeah, and when Hawkeye shows up and B's weird at them, they are like surprisingly respectful.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like this Hawkeye and Trap have no friends in camp other than girls they're fucking that episode and Radar.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you need like an expository scene without Hawkeye, it's just kind of like it's Trap's left in a desert, and like none of his actions make sense.
So Hawkeye's plan to seem insane is step 1, treat a dog like it's a patient, and step 2, pretend to be a cannibal.
I was really disappointed because I thought there was going to be a B plot of this episode in which like someone's dog was sick, and then there were...
Well, that would have been a way better app.
But yeah, he does act like a cannibal. Acts like he's eating a liver.
A human liver.
A human liver. From a North Korean, he says. Of which there was only one left. And then he's acting like this whole, cleanliness, germaphobe, OCD thing where, like, Frank touches him and he freaks out. And yeah, Frank and Houlihan clearly tell, like, what he's up to. Because, like, not one of his best schemes, honestly.
Yeah, like, they buy it at first, but then, like, that same afternoon, they're like, no, he's playing us, right?
Sorry for all this clipping, by the way. We'll get this figured out.
We'll normalize the audio.
So, yeah, they give Hawkeye a psychiatrist. They call an army psychiatrist in to give...
Hey, who hasn't Houlihan fucked? Because it seems like she's fucked everyone in the army.
Yes, if they need a character to have existing connections with someone else in the army, either they're an old friend of Henry's, who apparently everyone knows him, or an old fuck of Houlihan's. It's really unclear to me, actually. Like, Houlihan is, like, painted as a very competent figure, but also at the same time, they want to imply that she's only major because she's fucked up. That's...
Fucked her way up.
Fucked upwards. And I don't like... This Margaret is not the same character that is in the rest of the show, and it's just, like, so weird, and I just want to get... Anyway, we'll get there in, like, a year. So yeah, they get the psychiatrist in. There's honestly kind of... Was this scene funny or not? Where in the first, like, therapy session with the psych, Hawkeye tries to convince the psych that he's gay for Frank.
I don't really remember any of the jokes. I just remember that was the premise of it. Hey,
I guess there weren't many jokes other than the premise, but I did like the joke where he's like, and he doesn't even know I keep his shaving brush under my pillow at all times, and he lifts up his pillow, and he had planted the shaving brush there to convince the psychiatrist even further.
Hey, I just realized something.
Yeah.
So the whole reason that Hawkeye and Trap are appealing to Frank is because Henry left and Frank is in charge of the base.
Yeah.
But then Henry catches wind of what's going on, and he calls in a meeting with Frank and Houlihan and the psych? So, that seems like a ding, CinemaSin.
Yeah, wait a minute. Because there's this whole scene where, the psych is, trying to figure out what's going on with Hawkeye, and they are called into the office with Henry. Yeah, and Henry's just back. See, that is weird. But, anyway, Henry just is even more of an asshole, because he's like, oh no, Hawkeye's not crazy, he's just funny. Hey, Frank, remember that all the times he's physically abused you? God, that was so fucking funny.
Frank is like, yeah, it sure was. Anyway, they're planning to have Hawkeye committed to, they're saying he'll be put under observation, which I assume is code for thrown in the loony bin.
Yeah. So, like, the psychiatrist comes to the conclusion that, like, okay, Hawkeye's obviously not a cannibal, and he's obviously not gay.
Yeah, sure.
But he is doing weird shit around camp, and Hawkeye's like, yeah, because I'm fucking stressed out. And apparently no one accepts that as an answer. Hey, you ever get treated for depression in this country? Anyway. They decide to get the psychiatrist out of their hair somehow. And they choose a way.
Yeah, so you mentioned you were going to put a content warning on this episode. Content warning, sexual assault.
Maybe, like yeah, an incredibly unsympathetic, comedic depiction of sexual assault, in which Radar sits down with the therapist at lunch and is convincing the therapist that Houlihan behind him is looking over at Radar and giving him a wink.
Mm-hmm.
And
that whenever he turns around to see, she's like embarrassedly turning away.
Yeah.
And then that evening, Trapper John, he does the old like sign switch trick. Like he goes to Houlihan's tent, he swaps the sign for visiting officer's tent.
Which you'd think the psychiatrist would have already visited already to like drop his shit off earlier in the day.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yes, so
he goes there and then Trap switches the plates back.
And so, he goes into the quarters being like, oh man, Houlihan's fucking Radar and not me. And lays down, but then, Trap puts the sign back so Houlihan doesn't know that when she goes into the tent and starts undressing, the horny psychiatrist is there, and he thinks that she just walked into the visitor quarters tent and is giving him a strip tease, and he goes in. There is a confrontation, and the part I hated the most, like, I was already, like, uncomfortable, but then it was the part where, like, Hawk and Trap go in and, like, do their, like harmless prankster gate up to the door, opens it up, welcomes all the concerned people in that are hearing Houlihan yell and are just like, job well done.
2 birds, 1 stone, truly.
So yeah, the psychiatrist is essentially gaslit. Oh, well, he did his own actions and was extremely unaware at, Houlihan's not wanting his advances, but either way, he was tricked into doing this and is now presumably getting dishonorably discharged and his career ruined. All man.
But then they say the title of the episode.
Yeah, they send him out with,
I'll pack you some bananas. I'll get you some crackers and nuts. Hey. Can he say that?
This wasn't a very funny episode.
No, it wasn't.
It was mostly just, like, cruel.
Okay, there is one good joke at the end, which is that Hawkeye and Trapper do somehow get R&R approved after all that.
Oh, yes.
But then just as their Jeep is about to leave, a bunch of casualties arrive, and they're just like, oh, fuck it. Let's go save some lives. What the fuck, man? I want to look up the writing credits for some of these episodes to see what they have in common with the movie. And also, I want to look up some behind the scenes stuff because I know at some point in this show, I don't know if near the beginning where they were mining this stuff or near the end when they were running out of ideas and just grasping for anything, they would commonly go to war doctors that were in Korea at the time and ask them for some stories.
the one, like the moose from last week and this one, they have a feeling of someone at the VFW post that my mom bartended at telling me a story and not realizing that what they were telling me is actually like fucked up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to when we just get some zany comedy back in here. Or at least some poignant commentary, which I thought the last episode was. You know.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't give it a Pulitzer or anything, but yeah. Like I said, from last time, probably at some point, because this is the last one we're doing before I'd start putting them up, because I just wanted a little bit of a buffer in case you missed a week or something.
Yep.
We'll probably be asking for like questions or something. I gotta like set up a inbox somewhere. You know, you'll know when you know. You can follow us on Twitter or something. If you're listening to this early, you probably already do. Anyway. Is that it?
I think that's it.
Oh shit, I gotta hit the button, don't I? Got anything else to say?
War is bad.
So true, bestie. Hey, welcome back to Draining the Swamp. I'm Zach.
I'm Max.
E.
Well, sometimes I'm just Max. Either's fine.
Tilting me with this.
I'm sorry, do you want to start over?
No. Oh, see, you said start over again. You gave it away.
Oh, shit. Okay, no, we have to... Okay. I do want to start over, I think. Third time's the charm.